Do you miss your old job at all?
Breaking news.
We have what they call a Woj bomb. NBA senior insider Adrian Wojnarowski announced his retirement from ESPN.
The greatest basketball reporter who ever was.
The first general manager in the history of the St. Bonaventure University men's basketball program.
This is genuinely shocking. How do you leave a job that's paying you mega millions?
Guys, we got Woj.
All right, so what are we doing here, man? What are we doing here? How did we wind up here?
It's the Bonnies. It's St. Bonaventure. This is a special place. It's been a special place for me. Met my wife here, made my best friends here. It gave me confidence as a young person when I came to Bonaventure at 18 years old and wanted to have a career, and just the place that sort of gave me the confidence to build out a craft that I wanted to do, but also just as a person, getting away from home. I was the first person in my family to go to college. It was, I didn't really know people who went to college. And so I tell people all the time, like, almost everything good in my life came from this school. I wanted to contribute. I wanted to see if there's a role that I can play. For me, the chance to come back and help Coach Schmidt, help our athletic department, help our basketball program, build out in NIL something that's sustainable, that can outlast all of us here, and that's in place moving forward for the school, but in the short term, allow us to continue to compete in the Atlantic 10 as what we've been, an elite program in this league, go to NCAA tournaments, but the world's changed a lot in a very short time. I'm diving into it. I'm on the road recruiting. I'm spending a lot of time with partnerships and building out NIL, but I love the place. It's been awesome to be back here.
You shocked everybody when you announced you were walking away from journalism. You had what everyone would have termed the best job out there. You were as connected as anybody has ever been in the history of the NBA. Take me through what went into that decision to walk away.
I started to feel it in February at the trade deadline. I just started to feel like this was the end. This was going to be my last trade deadline, my last draft, my last free agency. Around trade deadline, I was in the middle of, there were moves happening, there were things. I texted Jay Wright, the former Villanova coach, who we'd always been friendly, but I certainly wouldn't say we were close. And I said, Jay, when you have some time, I'd like to bounce some things off you. And so he called me, and we talked probably for about 45, 50 minutes one day. And I asked him about why he walked away, when he walked away. He described in his decision-making process a lot what I was feeling. It really sort of started to validate my thinking that what I was feeling others had gone through, in terms of feeling like this chapter was ending and that there was something else out there that I might like to do. I remember he said to me near the end of our conversation that first day, "You sound a lot like I did with about a year left at Villanova." And then I would text him through those last few months with just some different thoughts here and there, and he'd hit me back. And Bob Myers, who I was with at ESPN last year, the year before, I had talked through with Bob a lot about his decision to lead the Golden State Warriors, and we spent a lot of time talking about that through the year. And then he comes to ESPN, and we're around every day, and then that conversation is happening with me. And so folks who had walked away when things were going pretty well. And one thing Bob Myers had said to me that stuck with me a little bit, he said, quitting on top isn't the same as quitting. I just felt increasingly pulled toward coming back here. And I'd always be talking to Mark Schmidt, our head coach, and our assistants about recruiting and different situations out there. And the new athletic director, Bob Beretta, is a longtime friend of mine. He's an alum too. He had just come in. And so we had talked about, can we get the money up to hire a GM? Who would it be? How can we figure this out? And I just called Bob up one day and said, hey, what if I wanted to be the GM? And there was just silence on the other end of the phone. He's like, along with being at ESPN? And I said, no, I would leave here. And there was just silence, and he said, really? And I said, yeah, really. And so I was in the lobby of the Brooklyn Marriott. It was right around the draft. And so I remember my phone was buzzing with some other stuff, and he and I probably talked for about a half an hour. And I said, run it by Coach Schmidt. I'm going to be busy the next few days, but run it by him, see what he thinks, and then let's the three of us come back. And so that kind of started the conversation. And again, that was probably a day or two before the NBA draft at the end of June.
Do you think if that job didn't exist, you would have still walked away?
It's a good question. I've asked myself that. I think there's a world where maybe I would have done another year of that. I didn't want to do nothing. I wasn't ready to go sit at the beach somewhere. I wanted to work, but I wanted to invest the hours that I put in that job into something I really believed in and I really care about and where I really felt needed. And ESPN was awesome. And the time I spent there are among the best years of my career. I grew up a mile and a half from ESPN in Bristol, Connecticut. My dad worked at a factory in town, and so it was coming full circle there. I just felt this incredible pull, and I felt there was a lot I could contribute here, and I wanted to help. In the last year, I felt I was as dominant as I'd ever been in this job. I felt like I had the league as wired as I'd ever had it, and it wasn't that fulfilling, and it wasn't as much fun anymore. You know, I'd be talking recruiting with our coaches and with our staff, and NIL and working on that. And I just kept saying to myself, I'd really rather be doing that. That's where like my enthusiasm and my energy was.
So what is that? Because I think a lot of people still don't know what the job of a college GM is.
In the NBA, people hear GM, they think you're in charge, right? The GM, the head coach, in most cases answers to the GM. The only thing the GM is in charge of at, say, Bonaventure is lunch orders around noon for coach and the staff. I work for him, and I work for the AD, Bob Beretta, and I work for our coaching staff. My job is to help create NIL pathways for our players, for our future players. We need to create more and to compete in a league where the numbers and a landscape where the numbers are really up there. We're a smaller school. We have a smaller alumni base. We have a smaller business community because we're in a little more of a remote location. And so we're being real creative in those areas, but you know, we're going to start announcing some national partnerships that we built out in NIL since I announced this. Some relationships I had, some that have come to us that I think are going to be unique, especially at the mid-major level. That's a big part of it. And a big part of it is recruiting, using the relationships that I built around basketball in the United States and Canada, but then also in Europe, in Australia, New Zealand, in Asia. Players can have agents now. So the agents that I've been dealing with for 2 decades in the NBA, you know, instead of talking to them about scoops, I'm talking to them about, you know, 19-year-old centers in all different parts of this world. And so the conversation, I'm talking to almost all the same people all the time now. It's just their conversations are different. And then, you know, I want to put in for our players here, get them chances to, you know, go work out with NBA players in the summer, get them a chance to internship stuff outside of playing and looking at their post-career and really trying to take my network that I built and make it our players' network and make it our programs' network. And so it's a little bit of all of that every day. We're gonna, in the NBA, teams have family rooms for players' families on game night. We're gonna unveil that for our opener, so our players' families who travel in, that there's a place they could go. That was an idea I got from the NBA and got a checklist from a couple NBA teams about different ways to put things like that into place for our players, for their families, just try to make the experience a little better.
What's it like living back here? Because I went upstairs to that apartment, and you are like a beer pong table away from being my college existence. What's it like kind of being back here and living, you've come complete full circle?
My wife Amy thinks that she's living in a remake of a Will Ferrell movie. And that he's just gonna come running down the street here.
Hey, honey!
It's been a blast. And we're at the Burton, which is a historic bar, restaurant. Bonnet students have been coming here for generations, from the 50s to 60s.
We all love this place, right? We can get loud over that. There we go. Now we're talking. All right.
You know, I may or may not remember my wife being maybe not 21 here a very long time ago, and us helping her through one of the windows over there. And so I wanted something near campus. I didn't need a house. You know, we still have our home in New Jersey, but I'm here a lot. And I'm here, I'm on the road recruiting or with the team maybe at an away game. One of the owners here, Brian Attia, also leads our collective. So he and I have been working closely together for a long time. He's an attorney in Buffalo. And he and a group of alums saved the Burton during the pandemic and when maybe it was in some financial straits. They own the bar, they own the apartments upstairs. And so for me, it just made sense. It's a lovely space. They gave me, my furnishings included one of the booths from the Burton. We have a greenback booth.
Yeah. It's something.
And so there's a spot to do our laundry. I've not needed quarters in a very long time, but I need quarters for the laundry machine back here. But other than that, it's got everything. It's got everything I need. Sometimes Saturday nights, Friday nights, it can get a little loud. You know, last week I woke up thinking I had left my playlist on my phone, and so I was trying to shut it off, and I realized it was "Come On Eileen" coming up from the floor, and that it was everybody singing that here, so it wasn't my phone, and I just went back to sleep. It was fine. I can't keep the hours these guys keep anymore.
Do you miss your old job at all?
No. I miss people. I miss the people I work with at ESPN, who I still talk to anyway. When I hit the ground running in this, it's all I've thought about. And I would say, like, I'll keep up with the NBA around relationships that I have and hoping people do well who I care about. And so I'll watch a little bit with that. But in terms of like the day-to-day injuries, transactions, I am unaware for the most part. You know, even my Twitter feed now is all college basketball. It's all high school recruiting. It's all player evaluation sites from all over the country and world where I might get an idea about a potential player somewhere. It's a lot of NIL stuff where I'm trying to educate myself. There's very little NBA on it.
You know, one of the first moments that happened after your retirement was Karl Anthony Towns gets traded. And that would have been a story you would have been all over from the very beginning. Like, when that was developed, like, were you following it in real time? Were you hearing from people? Like, because that was the first moment that, hey, you're out. You're not in the game anymore.
So I would say that earlier that day, one of the participants in the trade reached out to me and said, hey, and I was like, congratulations, knock yourself out. I don't care. Good luck with it, though. And maybe it was happening. I guess maybe it came through that night. So we were upstairs. We had gone to dinner in town, Amy and I think I got a text from somebody, I think after the trade went down. And I just looked, and then I looked at my phone. I saw the trade, and we just went back to what we were doing. It was, the world goes on without you. I always say, you know, at ESPN and that business, they will open up a whole new can of you, whoever you are. And, you know, I was at peace with it. This job is enormous. It's so competitive. There are so many great programs we compete with, and coaching staffs and places that have NIL up and running in big ways that, you know, we've got to play a little catch up with. It's enough. That's enough.
Thank you, guys. Appreciate it.